I don't know, I feel so destroyed. I mean, I could do anything. My nervous system is completely upset. Everything is confused in my body, in my mind. Everything is confused. I just don't know who I am, where I am. I just want it to finish. That's the only thing I can think is I want it to finish, but I'm so exhausted. I think I cannot stand anything anymore, but I continue. And the fact is, I take it in because that's the only thing I can do. I mean, I have no choice.
There's a part of you.
They getting me out of the bath, and now they just give me one shot of electricity so I can wake up.
Just hear the voice around there. You always want to release and hear and sense what they're saying if they're doing these things to you. Just put words to their energy.
We'll get her. She will finish anyway. But only when we decide. And she will never know when we decide and what we decide. Again, we are the masters, and you're our slave. To be tortured for your own good, because that's what you deserve. I trust them so much. I do understand now why I'm always surprised when somebody tells me that he likes me or he loves me. I just feel I worth nothing.
Wait, you do this too?
Sorry?
Do you do this in this life too?
Yeah, in this life too, yeah.
Trust too easily, or trust just because?
Well, when somebody tells me that he likes me or he loves me, I just, I'm very surprised and I say, wow, how is this possible? I just have this inner, very deep feeling that I'm not worthy. I don't deserve anything. And I cannot be loved, nothing. But my parents, they told me, both of them, when I was a teenager, they told me that I will finish my life alone because I'm a monster. And so I trust them that I was a monster, and I will eventually finish my life alone.
Believe them.
Yeah, I believe them. But the thing is, it's true because until now, it's very difficult for me to be in relationship, and so I mean, I made their voice real in my life, or maybe I just made my past real, or this past life real. I don't know, or a mix of everything maybe.
They're connected. They're the same. It's the same people. It's the same abuse. Just different levels. It's the same voices.
not my grandfather, but the father of, I don't know, maybe is it my great grandfather? Is that right? Yeah, my great grandfather from the side of my dad. He was working with the Nazis. He had a he had a factory to create beer and lemonade, and this place was used for the Nazis to do their meetings. And my great grandfather was working with the Gestapo, and he was also helping Jewish people from Germany to cross the borders and to come in France. And when the Jewish were in France, he was going to the Gestapo and he was giving them to the Gestapo. And this is my great grandfather. And so his son, my grandfather, when I was 8 years old, he looked at me and he said, well, you know, I don't know the space above the ceiling, you know, under the roof and above the ceiling. He had a space there where he could store things, and he told me, well, you know, have a lamp. A
lamp?
Yeah, that is made with the skin of the Jews, and have a coat that is made with the hair of the Jews. If you want to know, or if you want to see, I can show you. I was only 8. I was completely scared. It was my grandfather. The Nazis, they were in my family. And my grandparents, they were so proud of this. And my grandmother, she told me, oh, you know Himmler? Himmler is well, you know about him. He's the one who organized all the trains and the concentration camps and everything. And she was telling me, well, you know, he had a dog. And the dog...
I didn't hear the name.
Himmler. H-I-M-M-L-E-R.
H-I-M-M.
L-E-R.
Himmler.
Yeah, Himmler. He's the one who's organized, you know, all the deportation of the Jews. And she told me, well, you know, he had a dog, and the dog was running after the Jews, and sometimes the dog was killing them because Himmler asked the dog to kill them. So the dog was a monster. And guess what? My grandfather and my grandmother, they adopted the baby of Himmler's dog. So they had the dog from the dog of Himmler. And this dog was playing with my dad. And my grandfather was working in the Navy, the south of France. And after 1945, he was sent in Germany, you know, in the occupied zone.
Worked in the Navy, the French Navy?
Yeah, he was in the French Navy, and after 1945, when the war ended, and he was sent to Germany, to Constance Lake. The name is Constance Lake, or Lake of Constance, and just to stay there. You know, there was a zone in Germany that was occupied by the French, and then also I think the English people and maybe the American. I don't remember. And there were. It's terrible.
Yeah. Well,
They just arrived in Germany and they were given a very big house with lots of, you know, crystals and, you know, very rich house. Well, again, I miss the word. But there were crystal lamps and there were silverware. Is that right?
yes.
Yeah. And a lot of porcelain and, you know, it was very precious things in this house. And the house was empty. Just by chance. And my grandmother, when she left the house, because after a few years, I left the house, she took everything with her. You know, the porcelain, the silverware, the crystal, everything she could take, she took them. Sure, she brought everything from this house that belonged to the Jews, and that were killed in the camps. And one day, the mother of my mother, so my grandmother from the other side, she started to talk about my great-grandfather, so the grandfather of my father. And she just said his name. And my father started to be very angry, but, you know, like being enraged, and he just started to scream at her, and he couldn't stop. And it's because he knew that something was wrong with his grandfather. And he fired my grandmother, and it was, you know. But he never admitted anything, my father. He never wanted to see that my grandparents, his parents, were Nazis. He never admitted that his grandfather his grandfather was Nazis. He was denying everything. And I was lucky, because when my grandfather told me about this horrible, you know, stuff that were coming from the camps that he had in his roof, my mother, she was present, so she told me, well, it wasn't a dream. He really told you this. So.
Yeah. As you're seeing, as the past recreates itself here in your present life, this is quite normal and can be alarming at first when you make connections like this. How people travel in circles here, or groups from life to life, and so as you sense here this, you're going to find that this is the life for you to let go of those individuals that are confusing, that are unresolved. And as that grandfather of yours showed you that coat and that lamp and told you about it, it was a torture.
Well, he was proud to have them. You know, he didn't make any comment. He was really, you know, for him it was normal.
Listen, that's how this worked. There was a lot of brainwashing of these soldiers, these Nazis, to feel proud about what they're doing. That's how they got them to do what they're doing. Somehow they got convinced that this is something to be proud of, and there was a lot of training involved with these soldiers to come into that belief that that is something to be proud of what they're doing. And it's madness and it's awful. But that's what you're seeing is evidence of that, and how it was so programmed and ingrained in these people that even in this life they're doing it now. Whether they do it unconsciously or directly in a camp, it's still going on.
Yeah.
And you'll start recognizing it as you go through this process by the way people talk and the way they live their lives. But continue to move through this and resolve your own history here. You will begin to reject those that are insensitive and confused, that you didn't have the free to do in the past life. You just didn't. You were literally behind bars. You have to remember, you're in a camp. You're in a prison that you could not just get out of. There was no way out of there but to die.
Yeah.
Or escape if you could, but very few did. And including soldiers. Just so you know, there were Nazis that really did not want to be there either. As you saw a glimpse of that in the session before, the nurse that looked at you with some kindness, some compassion, but immediately changed her tune when the soldiers walked in.
Yeah.
Because she's also paralyzed with fear too. She knows if she behaves in a way that shows compassion towards you, they look at her like you're one of them.